Hello everyone. I want to talk to you about a final report institutional document reform that has come out from the government of Albania a few months ago. What I will try to do through what I've done throughout my research is a paper that it has already been completed and it's under review for publishing. I have attempted to synthesize the final reform that the government of Albania has come up with for the higher education. As we go on, I would like for you to continue and follow me and see the methodology that I've used and the theoretical perspective that I have employed throughout my research to get a grasp and an understanding about what has been going on. So before I started working on this paper. I felt puzzled. I felt puzzled. I didn't know where to start or what to do. And then I thought about going to a psychologist, and I was like, my God, it's not as easy as I planned on doing, or at least like I thought I wouldn't be that difficult to find the theoretical perspective. So I consulted with a few colleagues and a few friends, and I asked them, hey, this is what I would like to do, and well, what is the best way to go about it? Well, one of them suggested, you know what, just have somebody do it for you, jokingly, of course. But then I really wondered, what am I doing? In other words, the whole process, I felt puzzled. I felt I was not going anywhere. I did not know how to commence or how to begin. So I decided to take action. And the action that I decided to take was read, do some extensive reading, and simply focus on understanding what is an education reform, what theories are employed, and how can it best be conveyed to the audience. So until I had my eureka moment. My eureka moment came after some extensive reading. It was not something that I read somewhere and clicked something, but rather it came as emergent. It came as understanding of what I was going to do, how I was going to perceive it, and the methodology that I was going to do. So what I was going to do was going to examine an institutional document. What I needed to do is get this document, the final report, and deconstruct it and disseminate knowledge. The problem with it, though, is that I didn't know how to do that, and in order to do so, I decided to use qualitative research. And in qualitative research, in order to do qualitative research, I needed to understand what qualitative research was about. So I went ahead and I wanted to understand what qualitative research was. So, and why do I need qualitative research? I wanted to connect the puzzle with one another. I wanted to make sure that what I was saying was being perceived correctly, and what I was saying was accurate also. So I wanted also to make sure that I'm learning something, and whoever listens to this presentation also learns something, or a little bit of what I've also learned throughout it. So then I went in the pursuit of understanding what qualitative research is. So I came across BRIM in 2008. It's a strategy that emphasizes words rather than quantification. In other words, using words rather than numbers, and quantification is the key here. And then I continued on, and I went and I found Sendelovsky 2004. It says, in umbrella terms, aiming to discover, investigate, and produce knowledge through the understanding of the experiences of other human beings. Well, somebody else, Hammersley, 2012, it said it's a form of inquiry with adopting tendencies of flexible and data-driven designs by using relatively unstructured data to emphasize the role of subjectivity and to study and analyze small numbers of occurrences. Very complicated. In other words, my whole intention here was to understand that qualitative research is something that scholars cannot agree upon, because it's such a wide field that could be easily take different forms and shape, as we can see on the plan. In other words, what is qualitative research? Qualitative research is a little map that can go in different directions, and that can take different forms and shapes, and depending on how creatively and beautifully the scholar puts it, it's how beautiful the research comes out. So what are some key elements of qualitative research that I think research? However, what I came out to conclude is that some of these elements might also not be feasible or quite adaptable. I looked at the study routes. I looked at the study routes about the words or the key that was not something something that I needed to that I could employ in my research, because I was not studying the roots of what has been going on, but rather I was simply deconstructing a final report. And then I came out, I wanted to find distinct feature. What distinguishes this type of report from other report? What makes it so unique? What makes it special? What makes it different? And how is it, how is distinct in other, in comparison to other research? Well, and then I used reflexive writing. Reflexive writing, as explained by Luttrell, is a form of writing to help us enhance our own understanding of research. It's a way to, it usually comes in forms of memos and short writing, and usually it's done just to go back and have a grasp about what has been happening throughout the research, and whether what you're conveying is the true sense of what you're trying to convey. So, and then I attempted to pursue members' meaning. What, in other words, what were the program compiles wanted to say, what they did say. Well, the problem with that is not very easy, because this reform was a collaboration between many scholars, and when you and of course different meanings to what they convey. So there was not something feasible that I could do individually. But what I could is find what there was written for. Therefore, it's something that I would be interested in pursuing because of the feasibility. And then membership needs to make sure that you and the member are on the same page, and what's being conveyed is being truly reflected upon the scholar. But again, this was another tool that would not be feasible, because the final report was there, out there, comprehensive. That was it. Therefore, I needed to go and deconstruct. There was not negotiation or understanding about what it is, or how it's going to be. Narrative methods is also a key element of qualitative research, but not quite usable for my research. In narrative methods, Reisman emphasizes that we want to make sure that what is being conveyed by the participant, we want to analyze and distract it. However, the problem here is that I did not have any participant, nor did I conduct any interviews. What I simply was doing is doing some research. Code and themes was also something else that I could use, but again, it was not found feasible, because codes and themes are different ways of coding, and clustering certain meanings. But again, this something wouldn't be possible, because there were different stated problems throughout the research, throughout the work of the report. Therefore, I couldn't be able to conclude it and cluster within a certain category. Another key elements in triangulation, transcription analysis, thick, rich description, metaphors and analogies, metric processes, theory-based analysis, logical analysis, saturation. Great tools, very good for qualitative researchers. However, none of them were quite what I was looking for. What I did come up with, though, is that could possibly be used, but I personally did not employ it because of certain complication and non-agreements between the academic community, was the relationship, comparison, and causes to certain extents within realism. Well, realism in itself is it's been widely argued as a theoretical perspective and as a methodology, as a matter of fact. However, Maxwell has well documented it is that it is possible within qualitative research to find relationship between relationship and comparison and causes between what's happening and what has caused it. Of course, some scholars would argue the contrary, that the line between between realism and positivism is very blurry, and it is one. Maxwell has done a very good job, in my opinion, to document realism the way it did. However, again, it's something that I could be used in my research. I did not. The reason why, because of the not agreement that has none. So what I did come up with is I wanted to do an institutional document analysis, and I used Miller 1997. That had come up with this type of methodology. So what could I do, though? I wanted to take an institutional education reform, The reason why, look at this picture. It says sickness, hunger, homelessness. Could someone help me with these? I'm late for math class. In other words, these are some of the barriers that hinder students from pursuing educational study. What are we doing as educators to continue and provide for these students and ensure that these students go to school, attend an education study, get involved into research work, and produce knowledge that is much needed nowadays? So that was my intention. It was something personal that I felt that I could be doing good and to understand. So what was my intent? My intent was to crystallize the document in time and space by using Smith 1984. What I meant with crystallize, I wanted to make sure that to make it clear, perfectly clear to me and to my audience what's being said and how it's being interpreted. I wanted to address the audience with the real estate. The tale that I used, I took it from Van Manen. It was a tale that I thought would be best represent the way how to convey this resource, because the more realist we are, the more context and the more context we convey, the better audience is able to take the knowledge as given. And I explained various contingencies and other contextualized factors by using Miller 1997, and this is how I did it. On the contextualize, I acknowledge institutional actors, and institutional actors were university professor, students, parents, and any other stakeholder with an interest in higher education. That was something very, very good, because again, this report came as a final agreement between all these stakeholders. So that was very important to acknowledge that. I applied and utilized several of the theoretical perspectives to understand the whys. I did not necessarily apply a theoretical perspective to base my work, but rather to understand how and why has this come and what is the reasoning behind it. I employed a methodological approach in retrospective and prospective, and here's how I did. On the theoretical perspective, I used a feedback theory system. The reason how I identified this theory, again, it emerged from reading. It was based on the consensus building. This report was done on a two-phase report. In other words, the first phase, when the first phase was taken, a few preliminary results were concluded, and then these preliminary results were again discussed with the first participant, and a consensus was built to come to the final report. So that was something that I could identify in order to draw in 1993. Educational institutional theory addressed very much the institutional autonomy, which is one of the main emphasized elements throughout this final report. Institutional change theory, it's truly interesting on institutional change theory. The reason why, because as institutions change, we miss the point, or management misses the point. Why are they changing? What is their purpose? What are they driving, or what are they striving towards to? So what came is that social value, society is actually valuing higher education, and therefore is driving enrollment rates. So that is something that we as management, as administrator, needs to realize that here's what's happening and what can we do about it. Student integration model theory was the lack of educational institutional research. In other words, there was not enough research coming out of institutions, and therefore could be identified with this theory. Rational choice theory was to lower the barriers of bureaucratic institutions. More often than not, the bureaucratic institutions have the tendency to slow things down and to drag things apart in pieces. That was not something that that was something that I encountered, but that is being tackled and worked towards too. So what I came up on the synthesis report. I employed an institutional text analysis by using Miller. I pursued an audience with a realist voice as described by Van Manen, and I utilized Emerson 1991 and Emerson and Paley contextual tools. And these contextual tools were past and present. And on the past and present, I came up with a list of how they have impacted. For example, past have led to institutional reform in education. Moving factors were increased enrollment rates without proper infrastructure. That was in the past. There has been a long abuse of educational system thus far. Students are not being prepared adequately for the workforce, and when they go out, they are missing the skills to join the workforce. There is a lack of education institutions autonomy. Educational institutions do not have the management, the autonomous management that they require to function properly. Therefore, that has also been addressed. There is a need to develop higher education institutions with different statuses, such as for-profit, non-profit, or semi-profit, depending on capability of the student. For example, the low Albanian power means that the college may be unaffordable to some people, if not subsidized by the government or by industry in the case of vocational schools. In other words, if we are not able to make it affordable, then there is no point of having educational institution. Also, there is a lack of collaborative opportunities between Albania and other European universities. The problem here is not the lack of agreements between universities, but rather is a lack of practicality. What I'm referring to is the ability of Albanian professors to hop onto a plane, go to a foreign European university, teach, undertake research, learn, and then take that learning back to Albania and employ something different or something better, or vice versa. That is not currently being done. Therefore, that's an issue that needs to be taken care of. For the perspective, what we do need is that our Albanian education is trying to attract quality foreign students and to raise the quality standards to become more competitive around the world. On the final remarks, I think that it needs further development. Of course, it's a reform. It will require a continuous, ongoing effort. And there is a comprehensive knowledge acquired in text analysis. I had a limited understanding earlier, but then after did some reading, did some research work, I have a much broader understanding and about how text analysis is. And also developed an interest in text analysis, which is something that I plan pursuing throughout my career on other reports that may come up with. What I did notice, though, that there is a little bit of unclarity for the past to present. But again, this is an opportunity for somebody else to take this unclarity and investigate it further and actually build on research about it. So the unclarity was about what has happened in the past and to the present. How is this transition being done? But again, this is something that another investigator could very well do and could be a very good research. There could be also used for a research question for final project. So that it's something that worth taking a look at. And as you see on the text, these are some of the references that I have employed throughout my research. What I've done, these are just some of them. And again, as I said, this paper is currently being reviewed for publication, and it should come out sometimes this year. However, if you'd like to contact me further, my email addresses are indrit.vucaj@okstate.edu or contact@indritvucaj.com, or simply visit my website for more information about me or research work that I've done at www.indritvucaj.com. Thank you.